Hey, friends. Hey, listeners. I just want to give you a heads up that this recording was very challenging. We were recording on a very stormy day in Virginia, so we had to piecemeal this conversation together. If it sounds glitchy on your side, it's probably where we had to stitch the recording together. And I apologize. Again, I'm so new to this, but I so appreciate your patience. I hope it doesn't distract too much from the incredible content. I hope you enjoy this episode. Yinspired is dedicated to all the grandmothers and aunties whose voices weren't heard or listened to, and created for the daughters. Aloha and welcome back to Yinspired, a podcast celebrating different perspectives in Chinese medicine and integrative medicine. I am your host, Haunani Chong Drake, and I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Katie Clifton. Katie Clifton was born and raised in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. Katie Clifton is a mountain mama who has a deep love of Appalachia. After owning and operating Queenpin Acupuncture for a decade, Katie transitioned to nonprofit work, founding the Wellness Wagon, a mobile clinic providing free and reduced cost acupuncture to medically underserved communities in the Southwest Virginia region. Dedicated to making acupuncture more accessible, Katie has served on the Acupuncture Society of Virginia for 2 years. Woo, thank you. And represents the organization in the American Society of Acupuncturists. Thank you so much for being here and sharing space with me today. And thank you so much for your dedication to your state association. I'm so excited to have these conversations and to see where they take us today.
I know. I'm excited. I'm very excited to be here. Can't wait to get started, which I guess we're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to add to the welcoming or intro to the listeners?
I feel like hopefully I think it'll all come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I hope listeners glean from these conversations is not just, clinical pearls, but you and I have had so many conversations. And I just think your background and how you came to East Asian medicine and all your successes actually are so inspiring. And I think they could be so helpful, not only for maybe students, right, of Chinese medicine and acupuncture, current healthcare practitioners, including other practitioners. So I know we'll get into that. But before you got into East Asian medicine, I'm really curious, like that little Katie, what was your relationship with medicine growing up?
Well, my dad was an orthodontist and also an inventor, and he had a very entrepreneurial spirit and loved his patients. And they loved him. He had high schoolers that would wear shirts that say, "I love my orthodontist." I mean, that's how much people loved my dad. And so I think that growing up around that made me feel comfortable around medicine. We had people in the medical community, just not only dentists and orthodontists, but just, all kinds of people. And so that is really kind of my introduction to medicine when I was little, just like growing up. But it was very Western, except for the fact that it was Western, but I am from Appalachia. My mom is actually from Kansas, and she moved here with my dad. But my dad's side of the family is Southwest Virginia, and it's not like we talked a lot about herbs or things like that, but there was, some mountain medicine, or kind of like of the earth thinking. So, and I remember my dad went to a conference one time. Gosh, I think he went to China, and he had acupuncture while he was there and came back and was like, telling us about it, and it just seemed so weird. It was just like so strange. So yeah, I know.
Do you remember how old you were then? Like approximately how? I just got chills when you said that. Truth bumps covered me when you said
I
that.
know it is interesting. And my dad is a huge part of my practice, and he passed away when I was 28. So he would love everything that I'm doing. He would love it after his initial, like, that is so weird that you want to be an acupuncturist. But I was probably like 10,
Right.
so yeah.
Right. And so while you may have been exposed to this idea of acupuncture when you were very young, when you were growing up, were you like, oh, I'm going to grow up and become an acupuncturist? Like, how
No.
does little Katie go from?
I know. That is a very good question. I
Especially in
had
the
no
South.
idea. Yeah. I went into teaching because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. So I thought I wanted to teach on one of the Indian reservations in the United States, which I did do, but I wasn't there very long because I was super young, didn't have a teaching degree. I had a little bit of teaching in college. And I was like, wow, this is like not something that you can just fly by the seat of your pants. So I came back to Roanoke and became a teacher here I always felt like there was something else that I wanted to do, but I didn't know what it was. And I always felt like it would be with my hands. And so I met two acupuncturists and two female acupuncturists, and I was asking them about acupuncture in children because I taught elementary school. And, I saw so many parents struggle with finding an in between medically. Like they didn't want to overtreat, but they didn't want to undertreat. So you don't want to not treat a cold, but you may not want to go on antibiotics. It was a lot of like this back and forth and searching. And so that's what led me to my friends. And I was like, can you do acupuncture on kids? And they were like, oh, yeah, you absolutely can. And so I went to my husband at the time and I was like, I was pregnant and we had a child on the way. And I was like, I want to go to acupuncture school. And he was like, you cannot do that. He was like, you can't. We need your income. You cannot do that. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to put this on the back burner, but I could not let it go. And so we split up soon after that. He hit the road and I'm like, almost immediately, I signed up for acupuncture school. I didn't even tell anybody. I drove down to see the school by myself. I just was like, I have to do this. So,
This is like you felt the calling so much, everything changed.
yes,
And you
yes,
were
it
pregnant?
did.
You were pregnant and already had
Well,
one?
actually, by that time, my daughter was a year and my son was 4. And so I had 2 little babies and I was a single mom. And I was like, sure, let's just do that. But I honestly, I don't think there was no way to stop it.
Yeah.
It just was like, this is going to happen right now.
Yeah, and
So,
every time we've had this conversation too, just I knew a little bit about your perseverance and kind of nothing was gonna stop me from doing this. Was it a feeling, like, in your heart, in your gut? Like, it was strong
that's a good
because you're
question. It
like
was strong. It was almost, I mean, it felt kind of like I was a crazy person, but I think because I was in a time of my life where I was totally broken down, like my vision, I had this vision of my life. I was going to be a teacher and I was going to be married to this man and we were going to have 2 kids and we had a nice house
Yeah.
and then once that got totally broken open, it left so much room for me and like my dreams to come in that it just, I mean, yes, it was in my heart. It was in my gut. It was just like, this is what's going to happen. And now my daughter's 18. My son's getting ready to turn 22. I mean, it was sacrifices. They made humongous sacrifices. I made sacrifices, but from the beginning, I was like, this is for our family. I was like, this is going to change all of our lives for the better. And this is for all of us. And so, even though there are those sacrifices that we made, and it was a hard time when I was in acupuncture school and starting my business, I know that my kids feel like it was worth it for all of us. It's kind of made us who we are.
I love hearing stories of parents going through school.
Yes.
Someone I interviewed recently, they were pregnant going through school. And it sounds like
Yes.
you had just, birthed into a mom yourself while you're going through this process. So that in itself is such a different perspective and way of going through school than, for me, I didn't have any attachments to anything, even
Yeah.
school. Like I even tried to
Yeah.
leave school and come
Yeah.
back to finish things up. So I'm really inspired that. So there was a draw or there was like this inner calling that was so strong and your little ones are on board, you're on board. Do you mind sharing what school you went to? Because it's a very different
Oh,
school
yeah.
than what I went to.
Yes, I went to Zhengdao School of Classical Chinese Medicine in North Carolina, right outside of Boone, in the mountains. So it was very fitting for me. It was, like being at home.
Oh, I love it. And so there you are, you've committed to this, you start school, and is what I was looking for, or was there a transition of, "Oh, I thought I knew what I was doing, and now, holy cow, what did I get myself into?"
Yes. I think this is gonna come up again later, but I got some really good advice from the acupuncturist. So, I have to give credit to these women. There were 3 female acupuncturists in Roanoke, and, they just really invited me in and mentored me and welcomed that I was going to acupuncture school and answered any questions I had, and one of the things that one of them told me was, it doesn't matter what school you go to. She was like, all the schools like have their things. They're all a little crazy. She was like, just get in there and finish and take your boards because that's when the learning really starts. And even though I did learn a ton in school, I mean, of course, my mind was blown. And I have another story about that. But um, I think that just hearing that lowered my expectations enough to give myself a break. Does that make sense? It's like I went in being
I've
like, this is going to be crazy. And so when it was crazy or it was really hard, I was just like, okay, I have been already told this.
Yeah, and I would love for you to describe crazy because I think this could be, defined in a multitude of ways. And I know I'm defining it for myself because that time when you go into your master's program for Chinese medicine and acupuncture is not like other master's programs. So
Yeah.
what type of crazy was it for you?
Gosh. Well, okay, let me do my home life. Have to leave my kids for 5 days a month in a row, drive down to sometimes 6, drive down to, drive 3 hours away. I have to find a babysitter for them the majority of the time while I'm gone. I was a teacher at the time, so I had to come up with lesson plans. So there's all this prep before I go. Then I head down to school, and so we have 10-hour a day classes. So that's all the crazy. It's all the crazy that you think it is. It's all the crazy because your mind is being blown by like this totally different way of thinking that you're being introduced to. Oh, and so you're getting to know all these other adults and all these different personalities. And the school was, and I love junked out, but it wasn't that old at the time. This is in 2000. I think I started in 2010. Like they had just kind of been getting their feet on the ground. So what defines it the best for me is that the guy who started our school, Dr. Sean Marshall, was just like this old guy. He's like a hippie, has long gray hair, wearing a ponytail, and he would come in and smoke in our classrooms and sit in the front of I know and sit. This is
Such
acupuncture school.
different, yeah, such
Yeah.
different
Um, and so
times.
he would like smoke and be like, he's in the one of the first classes, he said, and he had this real gravelly voice. And he was like, we are gonna brainwash you. And he was like, we're gonna wash your brains out and refill them. And that is how crazy acupuncture school is because you really do get brainwashed. Like they wash your brains out and then they refill them in a different way. So it was for me, it was a really crazy, crazy 4 years. But it was, and actually, I took 1 year off in the middle because it was so crazy that I had to take some time.
Yeah,
And
refill your cup.
yeah, and then and so yeah, I'm not sure there's a way to get through a master's program and especially a master's program in for East Asian and without it being kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the expectation, I remember what I thought it was gonna be was so different than what
Mhm.
it ended up being.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I didn't have family or attachments or even a spouse or partner or anything at the time. I was, like, as free could be, literally in
Yeah.
all the ways, and even for me, it was so overwhelming at times because
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, I just moved back to Virginia. I consider you even more south, like, we're
Yeah.
in the South, but you're in the South, South.
Yeah.
And I still get people thinking, "Oh, you just learned this from your mom or dad." And maybe because
Yes.
I'm more Asian presenting, that I'm not sure why people ask that, but that's my story of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And people are shocked when they hear, "Oh, you have a master's degree? Oh, it's a 4 years master's degree?" It's
Oh
not just
yeah.
like a 1 year, it's a 4 years master's degree, and then on top of
Yeah.
that, if you go the clinical doctorate route, you're adding another year or year and a half or whatever program you take. So, I think that the expectation of what school is gonna be like, and you don't know what you don't know, so even through the admission process, and was there a like, you had to fill out an application and go through admissions, right?
Yes.
So you don't even know what questions to ask.
No, not at all. I mean, and again, the acupuncturists that I hung out with, I love them. Both of them went to oh, Pecan, which the one that was in Santa Fe that closed. So I think
Oh, that's not PCOM,
it's
but they were in Santa Fe. Yeah,
yes,
I'm not is
they went
Southwest College,
yes.
maybe Southwest
Yes,
College? Yeah.
they were there and both graduated together and then the another one went to the New England school. And anyway, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so worried I'm not gonna get in." She said, "Are you breathing?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "You're getting in, girl." I mean, again, this is like a different
Totally
time,
different times. Yeah, yeah, totally different times. Yeah, absolutely.
but no, I definitely was flying. I mean, I'm a leaper, somebody gave me a little thing that says she took the leap and built her wings on the way down. And I was like, "Yep, that's me."
That's you. That is we each have our way of approaching the unknown, and you're just like,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm just gonna jump and we'll see where
Yeah.
this goes." And that's
Yes.
incredibly brave and inspiring of you. When you started school, were you already thinking you were gonna work with children, like maybe for pediatric realm of care?
Yeah. And I did
Yeah.
I did want to work with children. And when I came out of school, I actually really still thought that. But then being an acupuncturist in Southwest Virginia and wanting to work with kids and being a teacher in Southwest Virginia, as a teacher, people knew what I was doing. They trusted me. They trusted the process. But with acupuncture, I really liked working on kids, but I did not like working with the parents. It was so much, it just wasn't worth it for me. It
Oh
was
my god.
so much convincing, so much like, it's okay, it's okay. And then I got to the point where I started doubting myself. I was like, this is crazy. I'm just going to work with adults. And so, um, every once in a while, I'll still work with children if it's somebody that I like. I really know them and I know that they trust me, but I just cannot, I do not have the patience for the song and dance that it takes to convince people that East Asian medicine works in pediatrics.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
one great thing, I think it was David Allen. I'm sorry if I'm misquoting this person. I heard him say he's a pediatric specialist in California, in Southern California. He said, working with kids is really working with their parents or their
Yeah.
caregiver.
Yeah.
And yeah, I flirt with the idea of working with kids, but I also have to admit that that was like the one class. I was a super serious student. Like
Yeah.
I was that student people probably hated because they're like, why is
Yeah.
she taking this so seriously?
Yeah.
But I knew I would never work with kids, but I gave myself a mental break in that class, and I said, "I'm not gonna take the notes like I usually do. I'm just gonna sit
Yeah.
back and I'm gonna absorb." And then, of course, I become a mom, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I wish I'd taken notes." Like, I
Yes.
wish
I
I'd actually
know.
paid attention in class. That would be
Yes.
really helpful right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. It is, and we didn't even have a pediatrics class. So that was another thing is that a lot of it was like I was taking classes on the side,
yeah.
talking to the women who mentored me about it. And so I was like, this feels like so much when I'm trying to raise my own kids and run a business. And, I was just
And
like,
you're still teaching. And
yes,
your paradigm is complete. When you say brainwashed, what I'm thinking is like you have to go through a paradigm shift while you're in school. And so if
yes,
you're not coming in knowing that that's going to happen, it's like your whole life falls apart. I
yeah,
see it happen all the time now, both as an educator, but I watched it in school and I remember it happening to people. Oh, and none of us saw this coming. You have to
yeah,
go through a paradigm shift in order
yeah,
for you to even pass your classes, which is
yes,
I don't
yeah,
remember that in the admissions process where they were like, "Are you ready to completely change your perspective on everything that you see in the world?"
yeah.
Like, no
And
one.
basically lose your mind for a little while. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have, as a practitioner, I've treated people going through school, and I'm so grateful to be able to treat them and just be like, what you are going through is normal and it's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah.
because when you're done, you're going to be so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of those things? Because I think other students who might listen to this are going to go, my goodness, I thank goodness I'm not alone because I didn't talk
Oh,
about it
yeah.
with my friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just see people just having like a stress
Oh,
meltdowns,
yeah,
just like,
meltdowns. Oh,
this
yeah.
is a nightmare. I hate everybody in my cohort, but they don't. But, like you go through that because you're like, I'm sick of them and they're dumb or, I'm
All
stupid.
the
The
judgments, all the
school is
doubts.
totally corrupt. I mean, you just have to go through, you really do have to just like go through all that. It's insane. And then be so stressed while you're trying to be a healthcare provider. I think it is all the thing. It is all the things. But if you just keep going, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of hurdles in school because that's the other
Yeah.
thing, not only the length of time of the program, but the intensity of it. You're
Yeah.
changing paradigms, you're learning so many different languages really, right? Like there's philosophical language, and then on
Yeah.
top of that, then you start learning acupuncture language. And then if
Yeah.
you're doing did your school do herbs? Did you do Chinese herbs at your
I did
school?
not do herbs, and I'm so glad, which also the women who mentored me also said the same thing. They were like, if you're not doing herbs, that's great. If you want to add it later, do it. Because
Yeah.
they had all done herbs, but then still ended up doing like years of study, like
Yeah.
a 2-year program or whatever to to learn herbs again. And
Yeah.
so yeah. So I was really glad that our school did not do herbs.
Yeah. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, right, besides, because even herbal language is somewhat different than the acupuncture language. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, then as you get towards the end, you're realizing, oh my goodness, I have to start a clinical practice. Now I'm a healthcare professional. And now you have to start learning business language, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so you start working with children, you realize that's not your cup of tea. What did that
Yeah.
transition look like? And also, where did you find your business acumen? Because it's inspiring, and I think a lot of professionals, a
Good.
lot of licensed acupuncturists, we get into this because we want to be helpers, right? You're a
Yeah.
healer, or you want to be a helper, or you like the spiritual side or the energetic. There's so many reasons why, but you know, very few of us are like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
So
Yes.
where did you get that? Because
I That's a good question. I mean, I definitely think it is a little bit in my DNA from my dad. And
okay,
let me, so what happened is the last 2 years I was in school, I took a year off. I taught one more year and then I left teaching and I got a job doing property management, which was so great. I was not taking home lesson plans. It was great. So I did that for the last 2 years I was in school, and my life was crazy. I had a cleaning job. I was in school. I cleaned this office building. They had a couch up there. I loved it so much. I would go when no one was there, I would sleep on the couch for 30 minutes, and then I would clean. And then I was doing property management, and then I was volunteering. And I think they had every other week a community style clinic done by two of the acupuncturists that I had worked with. They both had private practices, and then these twice a month they would just do like 3 hours or 4 hours a week community acupuncture because it was a very new idea here. So I volunteered for them, and that gave me a lot of, and again, they were very gracious with their business knowledge. Unfortunately, my business class at Jungdao it was not a great class. And I did not feel like I learned very much about business or accounting and it may just be because I didn't know what I was learning, like I
right,
needed
right,
for my boots to be on the ground. But so anyway, I was volunteering for those women, and then they opened up this beautiful community acupuncture clinic the year before I got out of school. So when I was in school, we were able to take our boards the last semester of
right,
clinic.
right. Yeah, things have
I
changed.
Yes,
Yeah, so
I took two of my boards while I was still in school. So by the fall after I graduated, I was done and I was practicing. And so, I mean, because again, I was a single mom, so I did not have time to waste. I was
yeah,
like,
you
okay,
don't have
yeah,
9 months of no
yes.
income. Yeah, that's
Yes.
not an option.
So
Right.
I was like, hit the ground running. I started working in that clinic. I was very upfront with the women who owned it. I said, I am going to open my own clinic, like not a community clinic, but I'm going to open my private practice. And they said, absolutely. And so, I mean, it was like an ideal situation. And as a business person in Roanoke, I tried to be that welcoming to other acupuncturists and encourage them. Because I mean, it changed my practice having access to all of that and made it possible, really.
Yeah.
So then after, I think, like after just a few months, I started seeing private practice patients as my own practitioner in the community. And then it just kind of went from there.
Yeah,
And I found
the
a
ball
super,
started to roll on
yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. And then later, I found a place with super cheap rent that I shared with somebody that was in a weird little building, as many of us do.
Yeah, oh my goodness, what you think you're gonna do when you leave school often doesn't happen, one, because then
Yeah.
reality sets in, but also we have to be willing to take baby steps towards a vision. It's not just going to
Yeah.
happen all at once. You have to take baby
Yeah.
steps and recognize that this is a baby step and I trust that it's going to take me to that next place, right? Like you
Yeah.
just have to get that ball rolling, and once you've treated enough people and word of mouth spreads, especially in a smaller area. I mean,
Yeah.
Roanoke's a big,
Yeah.
it's not like an urban city, but it's a
Yeah.
big area, but it's still the South. It's Southwest
Yeah.
Virginia. Probably what, in around 2010-ish, 12-ish? Is this when you're graduating? Yeah, so
I graduated in 2013.
okay. So still, I mean, not everyone's talking about acupuncture. The perception of what acupuncture is was still probably what? What was it back then versus what it is now?
It's hugely different. There was a lot of education that needed to be done. And even though when the acupuncturists that mentored me, they always said, they were like, there is enough for all of us, which there still is in Roanoke. I know
Yeah.
it's a
Oh, I love that.
wonderful,
You had
yeah.
amazing I wanna get those. Are they still around? Are they still in practice?
One of them passed away from breast cancer, but the other one is still practicing in Roanoke.
Oh
I
my
mean, she's outside of Roanoke, but yes, 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 yes.
What a
So,
blessing. That
yes,
mentorship, that love, that there's enough for all of us mentality, that's truly a gift.
it was amazing. So, yeah, having that made a huge difference. And there is enough for all of us. We are not oversaturated. I always tell people there are room for acupuncturists here. And most acupuncturists, their schedules are full. And we can refer to each other feeling, happy that this is like a mutual. So, I mean, it's not, all sunshine and roses, but actually, for the most part, it is. I mean, we have enough, there's enough for all of us.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I mean, I truly believe there's enough for all of us no matter where you live,
Yes,
honestly.
that's right. Yes,
It's a perspective shift, a paradigm shift as well. I mean, there's enough
yes,
suffering on this planet to keep us all busy forever. So,
yes,
what I also hear you saying, wink, wink, hint, hint, is if you're listening and you're looking for a place to move, Katie's
yes.
got a job for you in
Roanoke is the
Roanoke.
place. Roanoke is the place. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it's cute.
Virginia's
We have about
beautiful.
80,000 people here. So,
Yeah.
but I was also really lucky. I mean, there are some things that I have had. Roanoke is a town of 80,000 people, but it's still a small city because my dad was an orthodontist, because my parents were very into volunteering in the community and doing public service in the community. My family is well known in our community. So just like it wasn't like I moved here from out of town,
Right,
I
right.
already had this built in
Rapport.
base. I also know that because we don't have a ton of acupuncturists, sometimes when acupuncturists move here, when they started moving here and I was really busy, I would be like, I need some information on that person. I probably need to meet them because I'm going to start referring to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is a little bit of both, but I was very lucky. I had these like lovely women who supported me and knew people in the community. So those were helpful.
I love that, and I keep using the word lucky too, and at the same time, can we just normalize this? Can we just support each other and
Mhm.
recognize it is hard to start and we need
Yes.
mentors, and wherever you live, I love to hear that you welcome
Yes.
people into Roanoke now the way that
Yeah.
was to you. I mean, just talk about keeping that ball rolling and knowing
Yes.
that there's enough. That is such it just makes my heart, like, explode, like, "Yay!" Like,
Yes.
can we just do this, everyone? Can we just
Yes. And it, to me, as a practitioner, and actually to my patients too, my patients, and I feel like it's professional when acupuncture people in the same profession support each other. If
Absolutely.
you have a negative thing to say, unless it's a dangerous thing, if you have a negative thing to say about another person who's in our profession, then say it to your partner or your best friend. In my experience, patients don't feel like it's professional if you trash other practitioners. And so I think that that is important. To me, I want people in Roanoke to feel like we have the best practitioners around, because I want them to have faith in acupuncture as a profession. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I love what you said there too, because it's not just about between licensed acupuncturists. What you're saying is don't bash anyone else in healthcare.
yes,
We're all on
yes,
the
yeah. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I really tried to not do that as well. And there have been times, supporting a patient that's crying in your practice where you're like, that person, because they've had this medical appointment that was horrible, and
Oh,
you're like, that
absolutely.
person, but it's not that medicine, it's that practitioner is not a good fit for you.
Right. Oh, I
Yeah,
love how you say that. Yeah, it's not the medicine, it's the fit with the practitioner.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because
yeah,
really what you're building is rapport with a
yes,
practitioner, right? And,
yes,
whether you call it marketing or not, it's,
yeah,
building that no like trust factor.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. And having that, in Roanoke, our main industry is the medical industry. We have a medical school here. Because we are surrounded by so many rural areas. Our hospital is a big deal, and so I mean, you don't want to make the medical profession mad because you want them to refer to you. You want
absolutely.
them to have faith in you as a practitioner that you're not going to be like, don't go back to your physician. And so it is this like back and forth relationship of respect. I mean, just professionalism and respect. And I think that that helped in my practice. The practitioners that I worked with supported that as well. I mean, the women that, they were like, everybody needs to be nice.
Yeah, they role modeled that. You had a really
Yes,
great
they did.
mentorship and role model to see.
I'm going to just sit like this. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you can, I mean, sit however you want. I don't know what's happening either, so we'll just go with it. This is reality, folks.
See,
All right. Where were we?
and I did realize you had asked me about business, like where that came from. And so just to sum it up is we have a really, really good small business development center, and it's free. And I got hooked up with a mentor that I still use 11 years later. I just emailed him something. That was one of the best things I have ever done. And so I joined the Small Business Development Center, or I found a mentor there, which was free. I've had friends that did that and it was not a good fit. So if that happens to you, go to another person. Like, don't say that this whole process stinks. Find somebody else in the small business.
Just like acupuncture. If you go to the
Yes.
first person you don't like it, it's not the medicine, it's the practitioner. Go find a different practitioner. Same, same. So is the small business development part of the SBAs, part of the Small Business
Yes.
Association in Roanoke?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so everyone listening, whether you're a practitioner or not, if you're running your own clinic or just going through school, this is so important. I remember them kind of talking about this in school, but it didn't hit me obviously until you're like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an
Yeah.
entrepreneur trying to run my own clinic here. The SBA has volunteer mentors that are there to see you succeed, and they
Yes.
will work with you in all different aspects of your business, right?
Yeah. People would say, "Oh, you need a lawyer for that." And then I would email my mentor and be like, "Do I need to get a lawyer?" He'd be like, "Come on in, I'll show you how to do that." And I mean, he helped me set up my LLC, change when I became an S corp. And just all the things when you're in school, you're like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, your
And people
eyes
are,
glaze over
yeah,
and yeah.
yes. And there are so many people that you can pay to help you, but if you don't have to, don't. And so I started working with him. I had my mentors, and there was another acupuncturist in Roanoke, a male acupuncturist that bought this huge warehouse and turned it into his clinic. And I took him to like a nice lunch, and I was like, I want to pick your brain. And so I talked to him, and I want to establish this relationship with this person who we are in the same business. And I started working right away. I took my boards right away. I started working right away. And then I just kept moving forward. So, I mean, I really did not have a lot of business sense, except for the fact that I knew to ask for help. You know what I mean? there were so many people that I was like, how do you do this? And what do you do about this? And can you tell me about pulses, but also taxes?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
was, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wish everyone had that same level of courage to break through your own ego to say, I need help, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a culture, or at least in the United States, where it's like, do it on your own,
Yeah.
independence, like build the American dream on your own. No, no one does it on their own. They do
Yeah.
it together. And that's like hard culturally for some people too, is to ask for help. And so
Yes.
what I hear you saying is like, go get that free help. So anyone listening who didn't have a good practice management, or like all
Yeah.
of us, glazed over because you're focusing on your board.
Yeah.
And I say that as a practice management teacher. I get it. Go to your SBA, because I know they helped you do finances, personal finances, business finances, financial
Yeah.
break even analysis, all of that, all the stuff
All
that
the
just
stuff
makes
that
your
I
eyes like
needed.
float
Yes.
backwards. Yeah. Or rolling your head.
We,
Yeah.
I was always on the lookout for free resources that would help me with my business. I got 2 free grants where it was like, if you save $500, we'll match it 8 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so I got 2 of that. So I was always looking. And if somebody said, you should look into this, I did look into it, and some of it wasted my time, but most of it, like, you learn how to kind of sort and be like, this is going to be really good. I just really dug in. It was like, there was no way I was not going to succeed. None. I just knew I'm doing this. So my kids and I had sacrificed so much. There was no way I was going to be like, oh, I failed.
Right. Right. No. And
Yeah.
that is a key there.
Yeah.
That is so key. If you have an option for it to fail, then
Yeah.
of course that's the easier route. This makes so much sense. Everything that we've talked about now, to see
Yeah.
just like there's no way out. Like this is
Yeah.
going to happen. Okay, so you're in practice, but today, I mean, as I know you, as we've
Yeah.
met, you have actually a nonprofit. I think I met you while you were selling your practice.
Yes.
Congratulations, that's huge. But you now have a mobile clinic, and I would love to hear everything. I think that this is such an important model of care for people to consider as students, as healthcare practitioners who are already in practice, whether you're a licensed acupuncturist, a massage therapist, or any other healthcare practitioner. Like having a
Yeah.
mobile clinic brings the medicine to the people who wouldn't otherwise have care or access.
Yes.
Like you're doing it, Katie. You're filling a huge gap in our healthcare
trying.
system. So how do we replicate this? Like, this is incredible.
Okay. It is a very interesting model. When I was practicing in private practice, I was cash-based, and I was always trying to figure out ways to reach the whole community. And so I got really frustrated during COVID, and again, went to somebody for help, and a physician in Roanoke that I knew, and she was retired. And I was like, can you help me create this mobile clinic? And she was like, absolutely. So our bus is named Sue because of her. So I run a nonprofit called the Wellness Wagon. And let me explain where I live a little bit. So I live in Roanoke, which is surrounded by rural, medically underserved areas. Also, Roanoke at the time when it started had really high gun violence and huge overdose rates. We are one of the epicenters of the opioid epidemic is Roanoke and Southwest Virginia. And so, I mean, we were having horrible deaths and high ER rates and, all the things.
Oh, I didn't know that. Actually, no, I didn't know that. So,
oh yeah. So
oh my goodness, yeah.
Just 2 years ago, Roanoke was number 3 in the nation for 911 calls, emergency calls for overdoses.
Oh my
so
goodness.
it is very prevalent here.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anyone around here that doesn't know somebody who has either overdosed or died from the effects of the opioid epidemic. And I was treating people in my practice who were, trying to get off opioids, but they had the money to pay me, and so I felt very frustrated. And then COVID happened and I just was like losing my mind. I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy that we have all this awfulness going on. And so I had my office manager get trained in 5NP, the 5-needle protocol, AcuDetox. And I was like, okay, I want to start this mobile clinic. So I got donations to buy a school bus, which was like $5,600.
Yes. Really? That's cheaper than like buying a clinic.
Yes,
That's like
yes, yes,
maybe
yes,
even less than some people's monthly rent if you live
for
in like New
sure.
York. That's it?
Yes.
I
And
thought you were going to say
and
like 56,000.
no,
5,600 for a bus.
$5,600.
I know
And
you had to
we,
outfit it though.
yes,
Yeah. So,
we
okay.
did. But
Sorry.
actually, that was not, well, see, again, I have this amazing person in my life. During this time, I met who's now my husband, and I'm a dreamer and he's a doer. And so I was like, I really want to make this bus. And he was like, you are crazy. And then I was like, but I really do. And he
You're
was
like, I
like,
am, and I embrace my crazy.
okay. Yeah, he was like, okay. And so he just made this beautiful clinic for me inside the bus. It's a clinic, but it also like has a bathroom and it has sinks. It has tables in the back that can be converted to a bed so we can sleep on it when we go to festivals and stuff. So what I did is because I'm still running my private practice, we start using 5MP off the bus, 5 needle protocol. We partner with other nonprofits and we go to places like we have the Roanoke Rescue Mission, which is our overnight homeless shelter. We go up into the mountains to Newcastle where they only have one medical clinic, but we also go with other people. Like I send out an email at the beginning of the month. I'm like, hey, we have 20 partners. This is where we're going to be this month. Let me know if you're going to be there. So I tried to make it easy for the nonprofits who were so overtaxed, and I tried to make it accessible to everybody. So we just go, we park the bus, whoever wants to come, and that sometimes there'll be food, sometimes there'll be like sexual health materials, sometimes there'll be Narcan, just like all the things. So we have those stops, but then I was like, everybody deserves access to acupuncture. So the city hires us for wellness days, and we're getting ready to go to a local college and do treatments, and then businesses will hire us, and we come in and do that. Now, in the beginning, the stops were paid by my patients. I never had taken tips before.
From the cash patients. It
They,
was like
I
a
had,
community model, so they were
it
paying
was,
it forward. I'm
yes.
about to cry.
It was amazing. They were donating like $800 to $1,000 in tips a month, and all that money went into the Wellness Wagon. And it was amazing. And then I just realized in my I love my patients, and I still love all the patients that I was seeing, but I was feeling resentful, not towards my patients, but towards the medical model that were, made it so that I had to take cash, and, or, not take insurance. In Southwest Virginia, I think there may be one insurance company that covers insurance acupuncture first, and the reimbursement is like $60.
Oh my
So
gosh. It's
it's
not
just,
even worth it
no,
to become
no.
in contract with them. Ugh.
Yes. And so anyway, I had bought a clinic. My husband again had redone this whole beautiful clinic. I was full. I was working 2 long days a week, seeing patients, and that was it. And then I was like, I think I'm done. I'm going to sell my practice. So then I became a nonprofit. I sold my practice. The Wellness Wagon became a nonprofit. We predominantly hire people who practice 5MP. But wait, it is coming around to acupuncturists, but this is the way that I can make it sustainable, is that people who practice 5MP don't require the same payment, and we had people who had other jobs and they were just coming in and volunteering. But all that 5MP work is what is paying for us now to do a huge fundraiser to open a community acupuncture clinic so we can pay acupuncturists a living wage. I get paid a little bit, but I donate many hours and all kinds of things to the Wellness Wagon. And I am willing to do that, but I'm not going to ask an acupuncturist to do that, and
Right.
so I did not want to hire an acupuncturist and pay them a non-living wage and offer no benefits and just be like, but you're giving back to the people. That makes me want to vomit. So I
Thank
was,
you. Because I'm giving the big eye roll too, because
yes, yes. And
it's
I
not
don't want to,
sustainable.
no. And it's not fair.
It's
I
not
do not,
fair.
I
And
have
it's not
worked at,
professional.
yeah, yes. And I've worked at a lot of nonprofits that are, they do, like you can never just give enough. And I don't want our nonprofit to be like that, and I don't want that to be that way for me either. I'm not working 40 hours a week because I don't want to. I'm going to make it so this is sustainable for me. But it was a lot of like mental gymnastics to figure out how to financially make this work,
Right.
and it does work though. I mean, it has, right? Especially when we had when the patients were donating, that was amazing because I had this influx of money from my private practice of people who already had money. And so, but when we do the community clinic again, we will offer that same, people will be able to tip, and all those tips will go to outreach services.
I love that model. It had never even occurred to me. I mean, I've heard of this in other industries, but it's never occurred to me to do it within our clinical space, where if
Yeah.
you just put it out there and you're not requiring them to
No,
donate, but
no.
you're inviting them to be part of a community solution.
Yeah. And our patients loved it.
Oh, I'm
They
sure they
loved
would.
it.
I would love
They
to. If I
felt,
went to a clinic,
yeah,
if I went to you, I would be like dishing out money. I'd be like, of
yes,
course, and this is a way I
yes,
can help.
yes. And the way that when I was owned a private practice and the Wellness Wagon was under that, it's not even tax. Their money donations are not tax exempt. They just were giving us
Yeah,
money because
out of
they
the
wanted
kindness of
this.
their heart.
Yes. But the way that we thank them is help them be really involved in the Wellness Wagon. We made sure they saw what we were doing, that they knew that every cent was going to provide acupuncture. And I think that people felt some ownership of that, and they really supported it. And actually still today, they've been like, hey, what are you doing? I want to support you. And so I was like, oh, I'm having this fundraiser next week.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But people do, they want to help, and they want to help their communities if they feel like it's making an impact. And we were definitely making an impact.
Absolutely. Part of my jaw is dropped. Of course, this is working, but I'd never thought about it this way. And my heart is exploding with possibility, thinking of, could this be replicable or replicated in another city?
Yes,
Right? Do you think it could be?
absolutely.
So if people are
Absolutely.
interested, if they're hearing this and they're like, oh my gosh, new windows of possibility, and their vision is shifting, are you open to having people reach out to you?
Oh, of course. Of
Okay.
course. And
Okay.
that's that. I
Good.
mean, I do think that my story is a lot about supporting each other. And we are all coming together. We are all coming together. And we were forced to do that because there were literally children, grandparents dying in the streets. And we were like, we cannot just be like, there's not enough for everybody. We need to come together and share our resources. And so I think that is the best way for all of us to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things to point out here. You see a gap, and
Mm-hmm.
rather than being like, oh, someone else will fill that,
Mm-hmm.
you're jumping in. You're like, no, I can see how these skills that I have been blessed with are going to be useful here. And you jump
Yeah.
in. You don't really take no for an answer.
Yes.
You're like,
Yes.
I will figure this out, and not by
Yes.
yourself, not like
Yes.
figure outable by
Yeah.
yourself where you burn out and break down. You ask for help, and then you recognize like this is not just about the good for me and my family. This is bigger than your
Yes.
family. This is about
Yes.
giving it back to your community in a way that is going to ripple effect out there in
Yes.
a myriad of ways.
Yes. But the other thing is I had set myself up. I could not have done this in the beginning because I did not have the resources. I built a whole practice. I bought a clinic. I set it up so when I sold my business, I would have income coming in for a while, and I still have rent coming in. This for someone coming right out of school would be a huge endeavor. I mean, huge, but not that you couldn't do it with multiple people coming together. But I have been very, very lucky, in the right place at the right time, born into the right family, like all these things that not everybody has that. So, and also my willingness to connect with people and just be like, we are going to work together, like I'm going to make you be my friend.
You are such a connector by nature. And also, like this term, I think people use it, but it's still being defined, is this term of integrative medicine or integrated care. You're doing that. Like
Yeah.
when I hear you say we're pulling together people and we're getting on this bus and we're going to show up in this community, you're not
Yeah.
talking about just pulling other licensed acupuncturists or other Chinese medicine practitioners.
Yeah.
You're getting social workers and
Yes.
psychologists and I mean, who else? Who
Yeah,
else are you
medical
pulling?
students. We have
Medical
medical
students,
students come. Sometimes the health department comes. We
dentists.
have.
You have dental
I
care.
wish we had dental
Oh,
care.
okay.
No,
If you're
but we have a
listening,
free clinic. We have a free clinic that partners with us, and they'll come and they can set people up for care.
oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, I mean, we could have more partners. And right now, we have a super lean staff. So when I was running my practice and working, we had one half-time worker who really managed everything. And then we had all these regular acupuncture technicians that might work 3 hours a month. You know, it's just very little,
Okay.
except in the summer. And then they all had jobs and everything. And then when I left private practice, the person who was managing it ended up working full time for the person who bought my practice because we are in a small town, any small town. And so right now it's me. I am the executive director. I'm the bus driver. I'm the practitioner. And then my daughter comes in and helps sometimes because she got trained in 5 needle protocol. And then we have volunteers that we pull in. So that's what we are right now as we make this shift to where we're going to open a public health clinic. But lean and mean is the way this
is running right now.
Yes, right now.
And it will grow and it'll change. And you're in that grant writing process too,
yes,
right?
We are. Yes.
Yeah,
My dream is to write a grant big enough to hire an executive director that can do all those jobs where I can just poke people with needles.
You can show up, do what you love.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to be clear, so I think some people listening are going to kind of freak out here because they just don't understand. Every state in the United States has different scope of practice and laws and regulations around the practice of acupuncture. So we're talking specifically about Virginia, and Virginia has it on their books as of last year that if you get trained in 5-needle protocol, which for those of you who are like, what is that? We're talking about Shenmen, sympathetic, kidney, liver, lung, right?
Yep.
Okay. I know where they are. I forget their names. You can get trained, right? And then you get mentor, or what do you call it? Hours under a licensed acupuncturist to make sure they're doing it properly, right?
Yes.
What are those? Your practical hours, your practicum.
Yes.
And then once you're certified, these are the people who are certified who are helping you, right?
Yes.
Just to be clear. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like all of a sudden Katie has hired 20 licensed acupuncturists to come to Roanoke and be able to do 5-needle protocol. These are people in the neighborhood, literally in your community who say, this is working. We see that it's working. I want to be part of this. I want to help out too. They go and do the training and then they come back and help you.
Yes. In Virginia, you can be supervised by another regular acupuncture technician, but they're lucky because I am there that I can do
you're
it.
In there.
Yeah.
One of your students has come to me and I've been there. I guess I sign off on it.
Yes. Yes. You're their supervisor.
Supervisor. Yes.
Which is wonderful. And I mean, it's hard for acupuncturists to always do that. We can't supervise all of them. So in Virginia, it is good that we have this. We really had a lot of support for the AATs because we could not treat everyone that needs to be treated. I mean, not all acupuncturists want to go to the rescue mission and treat people. And that's fine. I mean, that is, yes, I get that. So, but that is what we want to do, and so we need those AATs that can come in and work off the bus. Yeah.
The auricular acupuncture technicians, the AATs.
Auricular acupuncture technicians.
I'm with you, Katie. When I first came out of school, I was very protective of the medicine, like no one else should be doing it, blah, blah, blah. And the more I've been practicing and you realize how much suffering there is, there's not enough of us. There just literally are not enough licensed acupuncturists in the United States to meet the demand. And I think that's really mind-blowing for a lot of people to hear because they're like, it's so hard. There's not enough people. I can't keep my business open. Again, there's so many factors going into why that person is having troubles getting people into their doors. The story you're sharing and what you're experiencing, what I'm experiencing, I've moved all around the world and all over the United States, is there's not enough of me.
Yeah.
Right? And could it be you? Right? Your personality, you're going to go out there, you're not going to hear no. Yeah, it absolutely could be.
Yeah.
Could it be me? I'm not like you.
Yeah.
If there's an easy out, I'm taking it. Let's be honest. How many times have I tried to leave this profession? Like every year since I started. And yet now I don't mess with the universe.
Yeah.
I understand my purpose and my place in it. And I have an irrational love for this medicine. And I want us all to be successful. I want us all to have whatever our definition of success is. And there is plenty. Making it accessible is where my heart is at. Like there are so many people who don't have access to medicine, period.
Yeah.
Let alone holistic or non-pharmaceutical medicine.
Yes.
And this works. We don't need electricity.
No. I know. You don't, I know.
We really don't even need water if we,
Yeah,
if you have hand sanitizer and the right cleaning, swipes or wipes that they now make, like what we have access to is truly a gift to our communities. And I wish people could see that.
Yes.
Like just really see that there's enough for all of us. And I love your story of collaboration. Your mentors were like, yes, of course, go to school and come back and be part of us. Rather than it could have been really easy for them to be like, well, there's already 3 of us in this small town. We can't have more competition.
Yeah. And too, when the bill was passed in Virginia, I helped get that 5-needle protocol expansion bill passed. We had so much support from acupuncturists, and that is wonderful. And it was no one's wasting time like trying to close the gate. It's opening the gate. It's making it broader for everyone. So we just have somebody going through the 5MP training, and she is going to go to acupuncture school. We have people that come and get 5MP and they're like, where can I get this? Where can I go get this? And then they refer them to acupuncturists. We are a teeny tiny, we are in this country, we are a teeny tiny part. And so again, the idea that there's not enough is just limiting all of us and this fear that we are not going to do it. And there are so many different ways to succeed as an acupuncturist. I am a hustler. I mean, that is what I do. I hustle, I hustle.
You don't take no, you go.
Yes. I'm like, but that I have seen practitioners, they have one room, they just do consistent, great work, and they are full.
And it's good to have diversity in clinical practice too, right?
Oh, yes.
There's no one right way to do this. Just because it's worked for you, and I asked about replication, just because how great would it be? Because I do get questions a lot from students about this idea of a mobile clinic. I send them all to you. I'm like, here's my friend.
Yes, they should email me. Yeah.
Because I love the idea that it makes sense to me, and my heart just explodes hearing about how much more accessible it becomes. And I realized that, I got into healthcare to be different on purpose, which includes the systems itself, right? Not just the practice of medicine, but the systems itself. And here you are actualizing a different vision, making it happen. Yeah. And it's really making an impact in your community.
Yes, it is making an impact. And it's making an impact not just from the acupuncture, but from the partnerships. And I will say, if I just had this bus and I went and parked it, was like, we're doing free acupuncture, we would not have as many people as we do. We had to use the trust that had been built by our partners in the communities. We had to piggyback that to be welcome in the communities. And so I just think it's very hard to operate as an island if you're going to be a mobile clinic. I mean, I think that it's, we go to coffee shops, we do festivals, we do all kinds of stuff. But again, there's no way we'd be able to do any of those without people already having trust with the organizations that we work with.
Yeah. And that trust didn't come out of thin air. You built that trust.
Yes. And now, I mean, whenever I walk into a meeting and I'll be like, I'm with the Wellness Wagon, we'll be in this like very serious meeting. People are like, oh, we love the Wellness Wagon. So now people are like, oh, I love the pink bus. And so that's very fun. But in the beginning, they were like, oh my gosh, what is that bus? No, everybody is going to know about that bus.
Everyone does. You're making a difference. I still have to laugh because it's so true. When we were in Richmond together, when we're at the state capitol, everyone knows you. Everyone knows about your bus. You're like the famous person. I'm like, who am I standing next to? Everyone wants Katie's autograph.
It's really the bus, though.
I know, but it's because you're making a difference, right?
Yes.
That's what they
Yeah.
care about, right? Even,
Yeah.
you know, all of our representatives or delegates, they just want to be making a difference in their communities. And you
Yes.
are. And so
Yeah.
they want to be a part of that. And
Yes.
it's a good model. Yeah. I love this. You and I
Yeah.
can talk for
We
hours.
could.
You know that.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really good place to kind of wrap it up for today. Would you be willing to come back?
Oh, of course, of course, of course.
Yay!
Yeah. Let me get my clinic started and then I'll talk about
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah,
running a
yeah.
nonprofit, I can talk about that.
So let's wrap this up. I just, are you open to doing a rapid fire? Where I
Yes,
ask you
right.
some quick
Yes.
questions, and first thing
Yes.
that comes to mind, just
Okay.
there's no right or wrong, and whatever comes out is perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Best advice you ever received?
Well, I'll do something else. And that was to trust your gut in business, which is always hard because we're like, what is my gut? But in two situations, my logo was a pinup woman with a needle in her hand, Queenpin.
Yep.
And people were like, my professors, my mom, people were like, do not use that logo. But I knew that I wanted something that stood out. And I just was like, I'm sorry, y'all don't like it, but I'm using it. And it was the best because it was like nobody else's logo. And then also painting the bus bright pink. People were like, why are you doing that? And I was like, I'm telling you, it's a good thing. So that just trust your gut.
Right. Well, and that goes into branding and marketing, all the
Yes.
things. Like you cannot miss it. It is great. It is
Yes.
great. It's unforgettable. And that's
Yes.
what you made, is something unforgettable. Okay. Flip side. What is the worst advice you've ever received?
The worst advice I've ever received is, I would just say people that were like, don't work with them, or to try to get me to shut everything off. Yeah.
People trying to make you small.
Yes.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Not good. Oh, yeah. Not you.
Yeah.
Not you, the free bird. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so next question. Are you a morning bird or night owl?
I am. You know what? I'm like a middle of the day or now. I used to be a morning person. Like when I was in school, I'd get up at 4:30 a.m. But now I work part-time and I just like to sleep late and go to bed early.
Love it. Okay, what's your favorite food treat?
My favorite food treat is really chocolate is just like a solid. Yeah. And like that salty, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, your favorite tea or beverage?
Peppermint tea right now, but I also have an acupuncturist friend that makes me a yin blend tea, and that is like, oh, so yummy.
Awesome. Okay, finish this sentence. Be the type of person who.
Be the type of person who is kind and tries to make the whole world a better place, not just your world.
Love it. And last but not least, what is your one wish for healthcare?
In healthcare, what I hope for healthcare is compassionate care. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So where can listeners connect with you and find your work?
So we are at wellnesswagonva.org. On social media, we're Wellness Wagon VAs. But if you see a big pink bus, that's us. And you are welcome to email me at wellnesswagonva@gmail.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please subscribe and share this podcast with someone you know or love and help us make positive ripples in our communities. And if you would like to continue this conversation or would like to know more about Yinspired, read the transcript of today's show and find all the resources and links discussed in today's episode, please subscribe to this podcast feed at substack.com @Yinspired. That's YINSPIRED. It's free to join, and you'll be emailed with every new episode, along with the ability to comment and continue the conversation started here today. And from my heart to yours, create a day you love. This podcast is for entertainment, education, and inspirational purposes only. Nothing in this podcast is direct medical advice and does not establish a practitioner-patient relationship. Seek care from a highly trained medical provider for your healthcare concerns.